The world we live in feels solid. We have maps, borders, and a history we all agree upon. But what happens when someone walks into our world from a place that simply doesn't exist? In July of 1954, the humidity in Tokyo was stifling. Haneda Airport was a hive of activity, with travelers flowing through customs and into the heart of Japan. But one man's arrival would spark a mystery that remains unsolved 70 years later, a mystery suggesting our reality might be thinner than we think. He looked like any other businessman. Caucasian, middle-aged, neatly dressed in a suit. He spoke primary French, but was fluent in Japanese and several other languages. He took his place in line, waiting for his passport to be stamped. When he reached the officer, he handed over his documents with the confidence of a frequent traveler. As the officer looked at the passport, the air in the room seemed to change. The document was high quality, leather-bound, and looked completely authentic. However, the name of the issuing country was one the officer had never seen. Towered. The officer looked up. "Where is this from?" The man replied. "Hanoi. Tower. It's on the border between France and Spain. My country has existed for over 1,000 years. The man was ushered into a private interrogation room. He wasn't acting like a criminal. He was acting like a man whose time was being wasted. He explained he was in Japan for business, his 3rd trip this year. To prove it, he showed his wallet. Inside was legal currency from several European countries, and his passport was filled with official customs stamps from previous international trips. Everything looked real except the country itself. Japanese authorities brought out a world map. They asked the man to point to his home. Without hesitation, he pointed to the area occupied by Andorra, but when he saw the name Andorra on the map, his face went pale. He became visibly distressed, claiming Andorra didn't exist and that Tower should be there instead. He insisted his home had been there for a millennium. The authorities were stuck. Was he a sophisticated spy, a man with a delusion, or something stranger? They called the company he was meeting. They had never heard of him. They called his hotel. They had no record of his name. Even the bank listed on his checkbook did not exist in our world's records. Since it was late, authorities decided to hold him overnight at a nearby hotel to ensure he didn't escape. They placed him in a room on the 15th floor with no balcony and only one door. 2 armed immigration officers stood directly outside. The man entered the room, exhausted. The guards remained at their post all night, hearing no sound. The next morning, there was no answer to their knock. They used a master key to enter. The room was empty. The window was closed and locked from the inside. There was no body on the street below, but the truly chilling part: all of his belongings, his suitcase, his currency, and that impossible passport which had been seized and placed in a secure airport locker, had also vanished. It was as if every trace of his existence had been scrubbed from our timeline. What do you believe? Was he a traveler from a parallel universe, a glitch in a simulated reality, or a time traveler from a different history? The echoes of the unknown are often quiet, but in 1954, they were screaming.